Hey guys, it's Malls. Thanks so much for listening to Please Advise. Just a quick message before the show. Don't forget to subscribe in iTunes. It's super helpful for us and super helpful for you. You can also call 323-450-7408 to get your calls on the show. Again, 323-450-7408. Or email askpleaseadvise@gmail.com with your voice notes or emails. Thanks so much. Hey guys, it's 152, episode 152. We're back. I'm Rusty. Hi. Oh, you're doing the air horn. I'm obsessed. Okay, so our guest today is Ed Hansen. I just want to get into it because we've been talking for like a half an hour already.
Yeah, we've been talking for a hot minute now.
But I'm excited that you're here. We were just laughing about the birds of Please Advise. You were laughing about it the other day. I was laughing about it literally this morning, and I told you my journey with that was like, I bet Ed remembered like the expression birds for women.
Yeah.
And like he's on his way over. So he just like said it to us, especially. It's like extra funny too, because like we're not birds.
You're
like,
clearly not birds. You're not sitting on a branch. And then, but what happened was that there were some crumbs on the table.
Just now.
And I said, Molly, are you saving those for your birds? Because you're birds, you know? And so then we all started laughing. Clearly they're not birds. I don't know why that's so funny for us. It's just because it's so ridiculous.
Like if you call us like dames. Like,
yeah, like the dames of Please Advise. Like the damsels of Please Advise.
But
like,
here's the other thing. I don't eat like near this table ever. So like how there's crumbs on it is truly disturbing.
yeah.
I think I don't know what my guests do. So, how was your like Christmas, New Year's holiday season? Like any magic happen to you? Santa bring you anything?
Well, I mean, so I don't even know how to explain this. Like, it's really hard to articulate this, but basically if my New Year's was a sign of things to come in 2018, then holy shit is all I have to say.
Because it was like your actual New Year's Eve?
My actual New Year's Eve. How do I explain this? Okay.
Were you in Palm Springs?
I was in Palm Springs. I went to a party that was like this quote unquote music industry party at this fancy gay guy's house. Okay. And so it was like way up in the hills. It was like fancier than any Palm Springs thing I've ever done. Okay. There was, I would say 80-20 gay straight. Okay. I told you Tom Schwartz was there, which I thought was really funny.
No, actually you didn't.
I didn't tell you. We haven't gotten a chance to really catch up on this. Okay. So Tom was there.
Why was Tom Schwartz there?
Thank you.
From Vanderpump Rules, if you guys don't know.
Who I love Tom.
But the more troubling of the two this season, which I would say.
Right.
Oh, I've said that on all my podcasts before. I mean, the Toms know I love them, but I also don't stand
for the Toms.
But Sandoval's always my favorite. Sandoval's my favorite.
I love them.
But Tom is trouble. I know who my favorite Tom is, but Schwartz has been worrying me on the show this year. Was he like
the drunken makeout? He was okay. Here's the thing. He was
also. I think he's like. I didn't realize that like he's a serious drinker. Like during the birthday party. I mean. I know you're doing your like, you don't want to say too much thing, but I'll just say it for you.
Yeah.
You have eyes. Anyone who watches the show can tell you that Tom's drinking is incredibly interesting this season. Like just how much it's ramped up, especially because his wife was the one who's like Tequila Katie. Like she's the one. They've been on the show actually, Tom and Katie together. Okay. Yeah, and Katie's the one who like has like the drinking problem allegedly. But then this season Schwartz is really, really showing himself. And apparently he made out with another chick at a bar.
That's the big, yeah. He like made, but he didn't remember it. He blacked out.
Yeah. He was so nice when he came here.
Oh, no, honey, he is a cheater. That's not like up for debate. He's definitely a cheater.
He's lovely, but he definitely made out with a girl blacked out.
Like fully said on Watch What Happens Live, Andy was like, do you guys really think? And she looked at the camera, she's like, yeah. She's like, I do. And so like to me, I'm like, oh, not only is that true, it is much worse than any of us think.
Is
like,
a kiss just still a kiss though? I don't know.
I don't think it is.
See,
no,
for me,
he's a married man.
Right. Don't kiss other women. Right.
What is the cheating line for you guys? Like even thought? Or like how?
No, not thought.
Here's the thing. I think that no. Thought is different. I think emotional, like any sort of like emotional thought, that starts to be cheating. Yeah. Like when you run into like, I really want to like be with her though. Like that's definite cheating. I mean, I don't know. Look, I don't want to like, I'm dating someone new. I'm not going to say his name, but he's awesome. And I'm like obsessed with him. And he knows that. But neither of us are cheaters, like in our like
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's just not, it's actually quite easy to not cheat. You just don't do it. Or you break up with the person and you do it like quickly and promptly and you just like,
right.
You get that along. It's also not a good foot to start out anything with if you actually like care about someone so much you want to end a relationship for them.
It's easy if you're not a selfish person.
Right.
Yeah, but then just like don't be a selfish person. Do you know what I mean?
But people are inherently selfish. Like,
yeah, well then don't date them. Like they don't get to date. Sorry, like you don't get to have a serious relationship if you can't have one. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. But anyway, Schwartz was at your New Year's Eve party.
Yeah, he was just there. He was like in the crowd. There was like, it was a lot of people there. A guy, we ended up splitting an Uber with this rando guy who I thought was in a couple. The Uber, he's like, can I ride with you guys to the bar? And we're like, sure. The door closes and he goes, who wants to see my dick? And then, and without it, none of us had even like said anything yet. And it was out. And then I'm like sitting there like, oh my God. And then like it was just
in the Uber?
Oh, in the Uber XL. Okay.
So he's exposing himself to this
it's
like
seared into my brain. Because I'm literally like sitting in the third row and a guy's dick is out. I thought he was kidding. And then my friend was like, oh my God, no, he really took it out. And then all of us were like, why is your dick out? And then we end up at this bar, right?
Is that like crystal meth? Like what makes you do that?
It was something. Okay.
Yeah,
like I don't know what it was.
crystal.
It wasn't, I don't think he was on crystal, but he was definitely a little heightened.
Was it something that he should have been embarrassed to have shown publicly to people?
Well, see, then that's where the party got divided. Half of the boys thought that he shouldn't have been bragging, talking such a big old game, if you know what I'm saying. And then half of the party thought,
what side were you on?
I was split. I understood both sides.
Okay.
I really did.
You're so stupid.
Because I really did understand both sides. I really did. I swear to you on my life, I got both sides of it because I was like, I probably would, but it wasn't a bad looking penis. It just wasn't anything I would have been just
Look
like.
at you, the politician.
Nothing to write home about.
It wasn't anything to write home about. But the funniest thing was.
But you also didn't think he had any reason to be ashamed.
He had nothing to be ashamed.
You didn't mind seeing it, but it was like something that didn't need to be
it just didn't need to happen either, and I was sitting there just like, okay, and then I'm like mortified because I'm like, is the Uber driver going to see this? Like, what is happening? And so then, it just, if that was any indication,
also like he completely exposed himself to a group of people, including an Uber driver, which is actually illegal.
Well, the funny thing was, I don't think the Uber driver knew. Because we were like giggling, like I cannot believe, and not once did the Uber driver look back.
Well, okay, listen, it's not like a cab in a 1980s movie where it's like there's nothing going on in the front that's happening in the back.
Right.
Like, no, he can hear you. Like, the guy has ears. Like, he just is like, he's like, okay, bunch of drunk gay guys. Like, one saying he has his dick out. Like, I just
was like, I cannot believe this is happening. And if this is any indication of 2018, then holy shit. Because that was already like a buck wild way to start.
Rock out with your cock.
He literally did. He literally did. And to no one's. With like, it wasn't like anyone was like encouraging this. This just happened. I was flashed. I was flashed after midnight. So that happened. It was really fun. Other than that, just buck wild. Like it's been good.
I had like a gnarly Christmas. I had a really bad Christmas. I had a really bad birthday. New Year's was just okay. I went to go see Britney Spears with like a friend that like. We barely know each other, but it was really, really fun. It was like we wound up getting picked up by a couple outside of the Aria who brought us up to their apartment that they live in that like looked over the Vegas Strip. And we just like were awake with them till like 5 a.m, like just partying and like.
That's fun.
It was fun. And like it was really funny because she followed me on Instagram, like the girlfriend of the couple. She's from Boston, by the way. She has a 617.
Oh,
so.
Sure.
And they have like the sickest apartment with like extra beds and like all their shit. So I like was like, I'm maintaining this friendship, but like I kind of like, I think her boyfriend called my hotel room the day prior, but I was because I told him I was like, my cell phone's not working in Vegas. Remember, my cell phone was just like shitting the bed left and right. So I was like, worst case scenario, just call my hotel room. Like, I don't know if I'm getting a phone tomorrow or not. So, He did call, like, and he was saying, like, come down to the store because he and his, like, girlfriend own a store, I guess, on the Strip. but I didn't answer the phone because it was like almost like looking through a peephole where it's like no matter if I look through it and I see my best friend on the other side, or if I look through it and I see a murderer on the other side, it's the nature of like putting your eye up to the hole that's the scary part. So like the idea of answering a call that came to your hotel room is like, oh, no matter what happens, I'm going to be terrified.
Oh, that's scary. Getting a call in a hotel room is a little frightening.
I mean, I can't believe I remembered to do that. Like, I was like, oh, 90s kid over here, like being like, just call my hotel room.
Yeah, like room 2041.
Yeah, that's exactly like what it was.
Like,
and he like remembered it.
That's very mistressy of him.
But he,
you know what I mean? That's like a very mistress move.
Well, no, I'll tell you what it is as well. Is that like, so I wasn't going to get into this, but I will. So when we went back to their place, like at one point she goes, by the way, she's like, if you want to fuck him, she's like, I'm so cool. She's like,
oh my God.
And I said to him, like, we went upstairs to do a series. I said to him, I was like, so like your fiance offered to let us fuck you. And I was like, that was very interesting. And he's like, see, she's the fucking best. He's like, I've been drinking. He's like, I was doing coke earlier. He's like, my dick's not going to work for a week. He's like, but she's the best. And I was
just confident in their polyamory.
Yeah.
Just straight up confident.
And but by the way, I don't think she was poly. Like, I think that like she just kind of like is like, yeah, you know, like
take the load off of me for tonight.
I didn't see anyone. Yeah, I didn't see anyone there to hang out with her. So I was like,
but also just because his penis isn't working right doesn't mean something still can't happen. It's so like
Christina
heterosexual.
Yeah,
I know. I think that when
dick-centric.
I know it's also like really like
it's true.
Here's the thing: is that when someone's been partying all night, to expect them to perform sexually in any capacity is nuts. Like. You just can't, you just want to fall asleep or you can't pay attention. Like if he was like up doing like coke, like no way.
It's also kind of like one of those things. So you're like, you think you're just there for a drink and a view. And then all of a sudden it turns into like, you know.
Oh no, I knew that it was something.
Like,
I knew there was no way that a married couple takes you back to their apartment. It's me and a girl who looks like she's 17.
Right.
Like there's no way. Like I looked like her mommy. Like I really did. Like I looked like I brought my daughter out. And I just knew. I was like, this is gonna be something, but like worse is worse. Then you'll love this is that when we were there, I was like, why is there a safe in the bathroom? And it was like the size of my body. The guy sells illegal switchblades for a living.
Oh, great. Okay, cool.
And brass knuckles.
That doesn't. I'm okay with that as long as it weren't weapons.
Yeah, and then
I mean,
those are exactly
those are
what
weapons.
Those are.
As long as it's not guns.
Right. Exactly.
Like, I'm okay with it. Just don't let it be guns. You know, a good old fashioned switchblade is pretty.
Point is,
it's retro.
I don't know how that didn't wind up being worse than it was, but they were actually really lovely people, and I would like to see them again. So the other day, I'm just like sitting at my desk, and I guess I was doing an Insta story. Oh, I know what I was doing. I was putting my blonde extensions in my blue hair because my hair is blue right now.
Looks really good.
Thanks. And I just slept on it, so I don't really know what it looks like, but thank you.
I like the color a lot.
Thanks. But yeah, I was making those videos, and then all of a sudden I get a text from a 617, and it's like, hey, like your Instagram videos make me laugh. Like whenever you come back to Vegas, like let us know. Wow. And I was like, oh, I won you over now too. I see. Like, okay, so this was the goal always, because I want a sick place to stay in Vegas
and a pod if you need it.
In a pod as well. Yeah,
you have your pod optional.
I want to join the pod.
Yeah, you could.
I was like, what if I bring like the guy upstairs? What if I like bring him out there? I'm like, babe, no, not to like, no.
No, I know, but like.
By the way, he would die though. Like if I.
You don't tell him why, and then he's like, something just happened.
So can I tell you about? Can I tell you something that I really like about this guy is that my last like significant relationship, and I've been in a couple speed bumps, by the way, and I was thinking about all of this. I went on this train of thought because he's at a family wedding right now. And if you'll remember, like the first guy that I dated after my last big relationship, we went to a wedding and like it was a massive hiccup. Like it was like the thing in the relationship that just, if I wasn't already only half in before, I would say that I then stuck another limb out. Like I was like, I'm like, I got one foot in this, one tippy toe in this relationship still. And the dude I'm seeing the other, like he did say to me the other day, like, oh, like, I wish I could have, like, if I knew you, like, a week earlier, you would be here right now. And I was like, No, I wouldn't.
Yep.
Because I learned a very fucking valuable lesson, which is that meeting the family too soon in general is a disaster. But also, like, everyone handles a wedding differently. And I think that this is where you and I will really, like, I think are all three of us, I think, are very in sync on this. But, like, there's a protocol to the way that you behave at weddings. I don't care if it's a backyard barbecue or at the Ritz in Hawaii. Like, there is a protocol to the way you behave at a wedding. Save for the fact that I got shit-faced recently in my friends, but don't worry, every wedding I go to, I've yet to be the shit-faced person at a wedding in my life, so I think this was the one.
You get one, yeah.
But you get one, exactly. You get one. Everyone does, by the way. Like, you know, I've been at weddings where the person getting cut off is a 55-year-old father of three. So, like,
it's fine. My phone.
Okay.
I'll get it later.
So...
Christina can't even get her own phone because Wax is like, you're not getting it. He's like, no, bitch.
No.
He's like, bitch, don't even try it. It's mine now.
So I was like, thank God. No, because you know what happened at that wedding, right? Which is that we got there like as the bride was walking down the aisle.
Okay.
Because they were so late.
Right.
And then we had to stand on the driveway. Like, I wouldn't even exhale. Like, I was so mortified because, like, I don't like to run late to, like, the bank. Like, let alone, like, someone's fucking wedding. Like, if they're sending the bride down the aisle. So then we, like, shuffled in after them, like, really quietly. But, like, you know, it's like a 40-person backyard wedding.
Yeah.
And the entire room kind of quiets, like, as we're walking in. Like, they don't just, like, it's just, like, the show must go on. Like, that did not happen. Like, it was, like, but we're going to hit pause. Like, there's no, like, it was so dark. So that just really was, like, ultimately, I was like, this has said everything that it could say to me. Like, not to mention the fact that his sister was, like, horrible and, like, it was just gnarly. So I have learned that, like, the wedding is the one thing that should be the thing. Like, that's not us starting out a relationship date. No. Like, you need to really fucking, like, be with someone.
Weddings are emotional enemas, and you either, it's just once you have that emotional enema, then you're like, I can go forward or I need to be done with this shit. And that's how it always is. Weddings bring out all the shit.
Couples break up after weddings.
Or they're even better. You know, it's kind of like
a what are we doing here?
It's like a what are we doing here? Or it brings back, it's either like you're already together and it makes you like reminiscent of that romantic time and then you don't have it anymore, so you're bitter about it. Or you're like, or what are we doing here?
You know, here's the other thing is that Aziz Ansari, of course, on the unfortunate nature of having to say this, is he wrote a book about relationships that I thought the parts that I read, I thought started out really well, which, like, by the way, like, it's like the irony of him writing this is not lost on me. Like, especially the arrogance to think that he was, like, simply in a relationship. Like, he had a girlfriend that he was, like, really into when he wrote it. But it was, like, the arrogance to think that you're like a relationship expert because you've been in a relationship that kind of works for like a year and a half is like crazy. But he started.
That's very soggy flicker.
Yes. But it started out with saying something like, you know, the most couples I know break up after weddings. And it's because, and this is, I think, the real reason. This is like the moment that you're like, what am I doing here? Is the vows. Because you're either watching it and thinking, like, I would do that with this person, or how would our vows be different, or this is what I would have, or like, this is how I could, like, yes, that's how I know I commit to this.
Or you'll never feel that way about me. What are we doing? Like, kind of like,
yeah.
You don't, this is a waste of time now because you're never gonna do that for me. And I've talked to so many people who broken up after weddings. It's a thing. That should be like, that's a thing. Like,
oh no, it is.
That's the
like
thing.
and I thought that was like very. I mean, there's a lot of problems with Aziz and that book right now, and I always side with anyone who comes out with like a allegation or whatever. But I just, I just thought that was like the smartest thing because it's true. That's like when you see it's a tipping point. It really is. I don't know. I don't know. It's also uncomfortable too because like. You see your friends get married and you're like, does that change anything? Like, has anything changed? Like, I think Tom and Katie, for example, on Vanderpump are a great example of that. When Katie said, that's not the guy I married. And it's like, no, Katie, like you guys almost didn't get married because he cheated on you.
Right.
So like, yeah, like him cheating on you within the marriage is the guy you date. Like exactly the guy that you married.
Right.
You know? And like, I thought it was like I kind of knew something was like really like dark there when Katie started talking about how much everything changed after the wedding and how it was like an iOS update that no one else got that she got. And I just was like, I've never heard anyone married say that. Like I've never heard anyone be like, yeah, after the wedding day, like things got real. Like everyone I'm like is like, no, it's just the same way that it was before. It's just like even better. You know, we're just like happy to be together.
Yeah.
To like act like someone changes after a wedding is weird.
Yeah. Oof. Their relationship.
I mean, I think
tough.
that's why some people get married is because they hope someone is going to change because the commitment is supposedly more concrete when you're married.
Yes.
But that's not what you should be looking for when you're married.
I mean, when we were talking about this morning, is that you had a run-in with one of my neighbors who like she's just a cunt. Like pardon my language, but like she's just a
and
cunt.
by run-in it just wasn't that nice to be.
No, I mean when you literally
neighbor,
ran past her and like and she said who are you here to see? Like as if she's the gatekeeper. So like not to give you guys too many clues, but like there is a place, there's like my place is separate from the, it's not like a gated community in any ways, but in a way it sort of feels that way because it's like the neighborhood after the neighborhood.
I was just like, I'm here to see my best friend.
Yeah. Well, no. And I mean like, but it's just like, it's not her, like how dare she like ask anyone anything, like just shut up and do whatever you were doing. And the reason why I don't like her is because she does stuff like that where it's just like, first of all, you're being judgy and weird. Like don't ask anyone like, you don't know what that is. That could be a man like coming to impregnate me. Like this could be my sperm donor. You don't know that. Like leave me alone.
You're like you don't know me.
You don't know me.
You don't know me.
Secondly, like I just have had so many interactions with them that were like I mean, as you said, the guy seems nicer and it is.
He did, yeah.
But at the same time, I also think that there's something inherently fucked up in that because it's like he gets to be in the perma position of the nice guy that's like kind of embarrassed, like behind his eye, like kind of like, I don't know, like she runs the show, man. I don't know. Like that is not an attractive thing for a man to do either because you're kind of like, hey, like, you are not a prisoner here. Like stand up for yourself or like, you know, what happened that it got this far away from what you guys started out with? Because I'm sure that they did not think they were starting out like that. And my whole point in saying this was that you said they had a baby and I was like, yeah, I think they had that baby to like make their marriage work.
I don't know if they have a baby, but you said
Oh, I thought you said they had a kid.
No. I said they were moving stuff in.
Oh, and then I said
I was just surprised because I've never been on your street before and had anyone like be like, who are you and what are you doing here? I was kind of like, oh, who are you?
Oh yeah, exactly.
Like I'm like my best friend lives. Yeah, my best friend lives here. I've been here like 100 times. Like,
no, they're just fucking weirdos. And like, I don't know. They had that kid and like, she just looks so stressed out. Like she's also the kind of person that like, I just sometimes see her like standing on the porch with like her lips tight and just like staring into the
lips tight.
She's just like I'm like
lip.
You're not gonna smile, you're not gonna frown. I'm like, there is nothing coming out of you except for anger. Like you're just like, oh,
seething on a
you're
porch.
like her pure emotion is anger. And then and you just see her there and I'm like, you know, you gotta break it up. You gotta be like, hi, have a nice day, whatever. She never fucking cracks. She is evil. She's evil.
Yeah.
Like I can't.
Well, you clearly have a lot of interaction with her, so you know what her deal is.
It's like maybe 6 times. I can just tell. Like, you know, first of all, you know, I know my vibes.
Yeah.
Secondly, like I just hate couples like this where it's like I want to feel bad for her husband. Like, oh, this poor nice guy that's like stuck in a relationship with this bitch. But then I'm like, no, dude, you fucking like go back into your body, repossess your nuts, and then like just say like, yo, you can't talk to me like that. Or like, I'm not gonna live like afraid. I'm not gonna live walking on eggshells. That is the couple that walks on eggshells constantly. Like they're just unaware of where the next mine is going to go off.
Yeah. And it's obvious, and it's funny too, because the men that are usually in those relationships like that, they're just repeating a behavior that they saw.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's sort of like them just constantly repeating this like vicious cycle that, you know, it's a weird, and it's both ways. I don't know. I mean,
let me throw out an idea for you though, because this occurred to me recently too. Like with certain people, you look at them and you're like, oh, like poor so-and-so in that relationship. Like they're so like abused, or like they're so like, they take a lot of shit they shouldn't or whatever. And like, I think that sometimes people put themselves through hell so that people ultimately will sympathize with them. And I don't think that's most
some people
people's
have a martyr thing. Yeah.
I don't think most people's personalities are like that, but they're like, I'll make my life a living fucking hell. So everywhere I go, people can be like, oh,
Yeah.
poor so-and-so.
Yeah.
Like, drives me nuts. We have to wrap it up. We have to like take our calls, but I want to just keep talking about stuff. Thankfully, that's what the rest of the show is we'll be talking more about other people's problems first.
Right.
These crumbs on the table are really disturbing me. I want to take our calls. Want to just do it? Yeah. Okay. Let's do it.
That part about please don't sue me, I have nothing, still makes me laugh after all these years. It's me, Tina the Diva, calling with a very fun and exciting update and possible like questions. So, I just turned 31. I recently had moved back with my parents, who were hardcore alcoholics and kind of verbally and mentally abusive, right? And I work at a daycare where I've worked for 6 years, and it's not going anywhere. Like, I'm making minimum wage. Like, it's just, life kind of took a shit for me. So my friend of 26 years, we've been friends since we were very little children, is moving to Austin, Texas for a year to try it out. And she wanted me to come with her. And I said yes. I think that's really kind of fun and exciting. I have zero regrets or like doom impending in my heart about it. I'm just like, yep, let's go. Let's try it out. Let's do this fun like Thelma and Louise road trip thing from Seattle to Austin. And just see it out. Now, my question for you is, you went to Austin, you like Austin, what's your favorite thing about it? What maybe not was awesome about it? And am I totally fucking crazy? Or are you like me? You're just like, do it, go for it, adventure. Because we're both single. We don't have children. We don't have men or women with us. Just, we're single and we're free. Right? Okay, anyway. Bye! Love you, Christina. Love you, Moles and guests.
Tina, oh my God, that was so funny because I said to, like, right just a second ago, I said, like, I don't think you guys understand how much interaction I have with Tina at times. And I just go, she just hit me up on Snapchat. So we're laughing because we feel like we know you. So there's that. It's just, I think this is like, the second you said, like, I had to move back in with my parents who are severe alcoholics, I was like, I don't want that for Tina. Like, I don't want it. She's too, like,
she's been through a lot.
She's been through a lot, and the last thing she needs is some more. Like, she really doesn't. And if you guys don't know who Tina the Diva is, she is like an OG listener, and we had her on as a guest. She came on once. She is Disney obsessed, and she's also like a survivor. So, yeah.
I am so happy for you.
Yeah, you got to get out.
I'm actually really happy for her.
I am like the elation that came over me when you started talking about, I was like, I felt a sense of dread. I was like, oh God, oh no. And then all of us, because it felt like your own like private Grey Gardens hell. And then all of a sudden, not that it's Grey Gardens, but just the
probably is.
I don't know. The alcohol is a metaphor for the disintegration or whatever. But like, here's the thing. I am so excited for you. Congratulations. Good on you for being confident and strong and bold. And God bless you. And I'm so excited.
Yeah. I mean, look, I think that you'll do, like, I thought about it from every angle, because as you were talking, I was like listening to, like, it was like hitting me. All my Austin experiences, I was like experiencing them in my mind. And I think ultimately what I came to is that you would do very well in Austin. I want to just like talk about financials really quickly because, like, you know, you're coming from Seattle, which is an expensive city. But you also just had to move. And you have had that job for a long time. You're right, the daycare job, and I'm sure that, like you said, they'll have you back anytime. Austin is a very expensive city rent-wise. I think a lot of my friends who work there, most of my friends are in some sort of service job or whatever. Like they work in a restaurant or something. And I know that they definitely are like, yeah, it's not cheap. Like it's really like my friends who have good rent, like they really, their heels are dug in there. They're not moving.
Here's the thing. Seattle's really expensive.
No, I know. I was going to say that too, but
like
she also just had to move out of her place that she had. So that's always been an uphill battle for her. We know that, like with like whether she's moving out and bringing her sister or she has a roommate or something. She was also living like that too. She was also living very lean, and I think that also Seattle could be like I don't think she's living like next to the fish market. I think she's probably living more on the outskirts. But that said, Austin has that as well. There's outskirts that way as well. Like, you know, the actual city itself to afford to live in is expensive. And I think that you should definitely at least go for this first road trip, whether or not you decide to like live there after this, at least go and like look for work. Like go put it in a bunch of applications. Like just you know how to get a job. I'm just like saying these are the first number one concern that I have is that Austin is a little bit expensive. Other than that, you're really, really friendly. I think that this would be like a really good opportunity for you to like meet someone because you also have this like, you know, extreme dedication to your sister at home, which isn't really your responsibility. And I know that you've taken it on yourself. And like, you know, I think that if you're going just with your friend, that's a really good opportunity because now you get to like build the parts of your life that previously were dedicated to your sister. You know, maybe like you get to have that opportunity we all had like right after college or whatever, where you're like, okay, I'm going to go find myself now.
Girl, you're going to go get fucking drunk and you're going to make out with like
I don't think like
cute Texas boys. Well,
he does not like that.
Then you go and get you a Diet Coke and you fucking, you know, go and just have yourself a good time. Like it's so fun. Austin is the best. Great food, great people, great things to see. Like it's low key.
Yeah, I mean, my favorite things to do when I'm there are literally just drink and eat. But not in like the weird. See, here's the other thing with Austin is that like I don't need Xanax there, and that's what I always say. Like I have no social anxiety at all in Austin. I can walk into a party alone. I can go to a bar alone. I can do whatever I want. And a lot of people like say like, oh, I couldn't move to Austin because like I die from drinking or whatever. And it's like, nah, dude, like you would die from drinking in New York. Like in Austin, it's totally, there's no pressure there. There's not also that like the thing with like with drinking hard, like in a city is that it would 100 also relies on like the atmosphere around you. So like in New York, it's just a high pressure atmosphere. Like everywhere you go, you're like, is this person judging me? Or like, am I standing in someone's way? Or like,
and yes.
Am I chic enough?
And
yes,
like,
and you know what I mean? Like
it's and all the answers that are yes.
And it's all like, it's just, there's an urgency there that doesn't exist. And that urgency creates the pressure in everyone. Like I really have like just in LA, I think we see 50-50 on that, where it's like the people out here that are very business oriented and they're like, fucking let's go, let's move, go. And then there's the other half of it, which is really leaned into the California lifestyle. And they walk like, you know, 0.0002 miles an hour down the street.
Yeah.
And I'm like, must be nice to be that relaxed. Austin has an overall sense of ease. It is also like the kind of place where I feel like most of my friends who work there have jobs that they can leave at work. Like they don't go home and think about it. And I don't know if I'm sure the daycare situation has been emotional for you in some capacity just because you're a good person. And I'm sure that there's parts of the job you cannot leave at work. And it might be interesting for you to have a job at a restaurant or something. I'm sure you've like served tables or something before. At the very least, you're a hard worker. And that's one thing I really like about Austin is people there seem to have a really good grasp on like work-life balance, which is really an important thing. Especially like when you haven't had it before and you finally get to like kick it and like you're just like, oh, like I was in a meeting the other day and I said to the woman, like, she's like, oh, you've got a lot going on. I was like, no, I'm like, there's at least 5 hours of the day I could work that I'm not working. And then I was like, wait, I guess that's where a normal person would have like a life though. Like,
yeah.
I just like, but I'm that kind of person anyway, that when I'm with my friends, I'm like, let's do a project. Like, let's like, do it. Like, let's make something. I'm always like that anyway. Like, that's how this whole fucking podcast started. I was like, oh, I want to hang out with my friends and make something. So I don't know, man. Tina, just like have fun.
I think this is a really cool opportunity for
She
her
needs
too.
it.
Like, really take the time to cultivate. You can cultivate. Like, I know you love yourself, Tina, and you're very on yourself, but you can cultivate a whole different side of yourself in a new environment. You don't have to be the person you were in Seattle. And the only person who's holding yourself back is you. And that was the thing that I learned, like, coming to LA. Like, that's what I was excited about, was cultivating a new person for myself. But ultimately, like, I kept myself in, like, sort of an idea of what I should be. Yeah. And, like, don't fall into a trap of that. You can be whatever you want to be in this new space and take advantage of maybe cultivating a different side of yourself.
Absolutely. And, like, make sure that if you really like it, that you find a way to stick with it, because you're also the type of person who makes friends very easily. And let's say worst case scenario, things don't go the way that you thought they would with your friend from school, but you really like Austin. Don't let that be the reason why you don't stay. Like, find other friends that you can, like, you know, get in an apartment with or something else. Like, just make sure that if you really like it there, that you find a way to stay there and that you're not reliant on your friend's presence, like to split rent or anything like that, because that's like the only time, like, it is a bummer when you see someone like move home from LA because they're just like, I don't have any money and I don't have a friend. Like, and you're like, but you're actually like really good. Like, why are you leaving now? And they're like, I just don't have the cash. Like, I moved here with my friend and we don't talk anymore. Like, you do meet people like that in cities where it's like kind of a hub of creativity or anything else, or it's a little bit expensive or, you know, something. Like, I think the sooner that you can also start to cultivate your own life outside of your friend, even though we love your friend, we love her, she's great. Just in case, you know. So yeah, that's it.
Bon voyage.
Bon voyage, girl. She's probably like already lived there for a month.
And it's also just like, no, this is fairly recent.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. It's also just like, you're gonna feel lonely. It's not because of the place. I've seen a lot of people say they feel lonely in a city, and it's not, but like, it's not the place. It's just the headspace that you're in at the moment.
I never felt lonely in Austin, for what it's worth. I mean, like, I think Tina's
like moving out of somewhere that you've been your whole life. You know what I mean?
No. I know. I understand what your point is. I'm just saying that, like, I'm a person that can feel like I had like you when I moved out here. You know, you weren't here at the moment, but like, I knew you'd be back. Ed was like working in Iowa or something really gross. Like, he was like,
remember I sent you that like status? When it's so cute.
And I also just like still can't believe that like you lived in Iowa. Like, what the fuck?
Imagine. I know.
No.
In London, Ontario.
I think people fall into easy traps for why they're not making connections with people, and they'll blame an entire city filled with millions of people before looking inward.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Or an entire gender of people. You know what I mean? Like, before
just
looking
know
inward.
that, wherever you are, it's on you. You got to push yourself out there to make friends. You got to be social. You got to be.
I'm not worried about that with Tina.
Yeah,
I mean,
Tina's
that's good general advice for the masses, but like, this isn't Tina.
Girl.
Like, especially like,
she's gonna make friends at her new daycare. She's gonna be, you know, you're gonna be killing that.
If I can make friends in Austin, you can make friends in Austin. Tina can't. Like, I'm not worried about Tina. I think that's more like general advice for the population at this point.
Don't be a diva, Tina.
Okay, let's. Oh, she can't help it. Let's take another call.
Hi, Mal, Christina, and guests. My name I would like to go by is T, and I'm calling with a question. I'm not really sure if it's a question, but maybe a bit of a question and amusing. Just a story to share. So recently I was on the dating app. Just gonna be honest, it was Bumble. Matched with this guy, and we hung out a bunch of times, and it was fun experiences. I'm much younger than him, probably about 10 years or so. Granted, I'm in my early 20s, he's in his early 30s, so it wasn't a huge deal. It was fun, we had fun, but long story short, I didn't really find him super interesting, and some weird stuff happened, and I think at one point I kind of wanted to not to talk to him anymore, kind of changed my mind, and then eventually it seemed like he kind of wasn't that interested anymore as well. But long story short, so after everything's all said and done, I Googled him. It turns out he's kind of a celebrity, which is really weird. He's like in a very niche field, and he is a very well-known person in his field and is, I guess, a millionaire. So, while that was really, really interesting, I'm definitely not a gold digger, but the fact that he is so successful now makes it kind of clear why maybe he was really, really kind of mysterious and held back some details when we were talking. And I kind of want to start talking to him again. I did kind of restart the conversation, but it's obvious it's not really like there. And I kind of feel bad because I wonder like if I'd known, who he actually was or something before we hung out, would I have been like, I don't know, more into it or whatever. So that's kind of, like I said, it's not really a question. I guess kind of just advice on meeting people and putting your best foot out there. Like, what's the best advice to not be in a situation where, like, after you end something with somebody, you're like, wait, maybe I shouldn't have. But yeah, that's my question. Thanks. Please advise.
One, I also just want to note that this call made Ed put his sunglasses on.
I was like, I can't even look at her. Listen to me. I'm sure you're very lovely, and I'm sure you're an attractive young lady or whatever else. But like, I think the only thing you had going for you was that you didn't know who he was.
Yeah,
I'm sorry. Like, I'm just gonna say it. There are plenty of like, attractive young women on Bumble, and I'm sure he's put his dick in a lot of them. And like, I want to express that to you as well, is that like the reason why you're not really getting back a lot of heat from him right now is probably because he's already moved on. Like, if this guy is near what you have described him to be, the last problem he has is getting laid, and the last thing he wants is an emotional connection.
And babe, all these twists and turns of which you describe, that's called dating. Okay, that's dating in Los Angeles. Okay, that is dating.
Is she in LA?
Or wherever you are. That's dating
but no,
on
can
Earth.
you give me a city though? Because I do want to know. Because the way that she kind of described it, I'm thinking, okay, maybe there's tech. But tech is also a very vast
It could be
field.
San Francisco.
It could be. I'm just trying
Chicago.
Chicago
is the
Okay,
area
that's
code
dating.
for the number, but she could live anywhere.
So maybe he's like a big commercial real estate guy. Like
anything.
She did say that he is famous within his niche, and that implies that he is a millionaire.
Yeah,
that is her takeaway.
Right.
So.
I just was like,
there's only a few industries that you can be quote unquote famous in and a millionaire, and it would be like Googleable shit.
Your 20s, I'm verklempt. But what I will say is that this was a perfectly healthy and normal scenario. God willing, I don't think anything super weird happened other than you.
Oh, I do. I think that
okay.
I think something happened to her.
Oh,
I'm
you
going to
do?
tell you what I think happened.
Oh, okay. Tell me.
So they obviously had some sort of interaction or experience that made her very uncomfortable because she backed away from him. And the only reason why when you're in your 20s and you're just like a fucking desperate loser, the only reason why you like walk away from a guy that's made you uncomfortable or you see someone and you go like, oh, I kind of don't want to see him anymore, is like something fucked up happened. And I don't know what that thing is, and I'm not gonna like make any like assumptions, but I will guess that like, maybe things got a little bit too forceful, and like, sometimes you just like have sex with someone and you're like, oh, he's on a different like level, you know what I mean? It's not always like a bad
it's not always, yeah, and it just sounds like you two kind of backed off each other.
No, it sounds like because he then pursued her and they started to dip back into it.
But then she said that she hit him back up and then he was kind of like out, right?
So yes, but the point being is that to me, I think something interesting is that she backed away feeling a little bit uncomfortable from everything that she implied. But he continued to pursue her and she was like, no.
I just felt like she wasn't that into him.
And then, no. And so then they started kind of seeing each other again. But he was pushing away this time.
Oh, okay.
So do you see that it was a little bit of a cat and mouse game that started with her being uncomfortable or like a little bit. She didn't really want to see him anymore. And I'm using finger quotes when I say she didn't really want to see him anymore. As I'm not going to read into it too much, but I will say as a woman, I know when I have said that about like guys and like you know, most chicks, they just really want to make it work. Like why is she's on a dating app because she wants to make it work.
But then like why? So then she's hung up on him again because now she found out he's famous and now she's
and that's also the sort of thing that 20-year-olds care about.
100%. I was just more, my thing is kind of like, this is the back and forth of it all for me is I've completely experienced this and it's just very much like this is just dating. Like there's nothing to me. This is a 1-0. This is like I can't even go if I go into the horror stories of the shit that I've experienced. I think like this is like okay, this happened. Blah. Now he's famous. Now I'm a little more. I'm kind of wondering if he was so bad. Like that's, I feel like the tone of what she was saying.
Yeah, no, she wants to know, like, is it normal to break up with someone and then be like, oh, maybe I made a mistake?
And 100% it is.
But I will say this. Sorry. I will say this. There's, I think actually a lot, I think that actually there was a lot more here than I think that what wasn't said here is actually very interesting. Because this is part of dating and like why you need to date a lot, because there are going to be experiences like this. The only way to inform yourself of what you want is by living through what you don't want. And I also think that, like, you know, 100%, like if you find out after you date a guy, I found out once when I was 23, I was dating a guy and I found out he made $100,000 a year. And I was like, why didn't he pay for more shit? And like, to me, like, that's how much money $100,000 a year was. So to find out that you're dating a guy that's like was a millionaire and you could have lived that millionaire life if you had just not felt weird that one time, you could be living like a millionaire right now. I know why she's doing that. She regrets it because she's like, but what would have been if I never pushed away the first time? And I think that there's been 2 or 3 major shots since then. And I think she's only intrigued because of the money.
I think she needs to move forward. I think she's like, leave him in the past.
Well, yes, that's true. But like, I think that this is also worth discussing a little bit. Do you understand what I mean, Christina? Because like, this is a thing that women do in particular, or, you know, I don't know, whatever the more vulnerable party is in a situation. I often just assume the woman is a slightly more vulnerable person and that like men can kill us, or, you know, 2 women together. I don't know. Women can kill women too. I don't know. But I will say, yeah. I mean, there's been some lesbians that have just taken each other down for no fucking reason. But no, I think of like, there's a vulnerability there. And you're young. There's a power dynamic with now, you know, he's a millionaire and he's older than you, which is in and of itself, like when you're dating a guy that's older than you, like a decade older than you, which by the way, he's a creep. Like if you're 22 and he's 32, you guys have nothing fucking in common.
But here's the thing. There's a lot of guys out there, gay, straight, whatever, who date younger people.
Yeah, because they're not good to date.
Yeah, I agree with you, but I won't put that judgment on them. Like, I've had friends who are a little older who have dated guys who are way younger. And I
know who you're thinking of, and I don't think this is that.
He was not the creep in that party. He was actually the victim in that scenario. So it's but I wouldn't. I know what you're doing. I know what you're saying, and I know what you're doing, and I agree. I think you should say it. I'm just saying that not everything applies to that rule, and I would not. The sweeping generalization, I think, is tough.
Sure. Well, there's things that fall outside of that. Like, you know, there's definitely relationships that fall outside of that. There's always a surprise thing, but I think that people get very delusional and they're like, but we could be the exception to the rule. And what I'm trying to do is be very realistic and say, you know what? It's actually not a Disney movie. Like, this is not a rom-com.
Agree.
The hard truth and the hard reality to accept in life is that maybe you are not special enough, or maybe you just didn't pull the lottery ticket on that one, that you are the exception to the rule. Everyone should move forward assuming they are the rule. And
I just think that you have to treat people, look, extrapolating money and all that bullshit,
That's all she cares about now.
Right. And that's what I'm saying. Focus on how he treated you, what your interaction was like, and what the dynamic was, and stick with that inside of you. And don't worry about he's a millionaire and all that shit, because all that stuff is literally very, and I know like it ultimately is very superficial. So just that's all I want to say. Like I'm not telling you like, and of course, you're in your 20s, you're gonna date. You need to date. This is dating. You need to, like Molly was saying, figuring shit out, figuring what you like, what you don't like, what works for you, what you're comfortable with, what you're not comfortable with. You got to do all of that. So just keep it moving. That's all. Do
you think it's really possible for a 20-year-old to just to forget the fact that she found out the guy she's dating is not only famous, so to speak, but a millionaire? Because I wouldn't be able to stop thinking about that if I found out that I had been like sleeping with a guy and he'd always been a little bit reluctant to tell me what he did. Again, that like reminds me of a movie where it's just like, I didn't know I was like dating the biggest movie star in the world. I grew up without a TV. But like but I will say, go back to I would mentally, if I were you, I would try to freeze frame the moment we stopped hanging out with him the first time.
Yeah.
Because that's the only moment that matters, was like when you knew what was up.
Because like if the chemistry wasn't there before you knew this, it's not going to be there because you know this.
That's
like
it's
not going to change like
she
whatever
just wants
vibes
a nice
you
dinner.
got. Yeah, you just want a nice steak dinner, and girl, just save your
Louis
own
Vuitton
money for yourself.
Yeah, exactly.
But also just I don't know. I mean, I know this is like Googling someone is a controversial kind of subject.
That's why I say don't
date.
fucking.
But do you even check if they're listed as like a sex offender?
No. Literally,
so, like,
no.
Do you check that?
Yes. Before I go out on a date with someone, yes.
You're smart. I've never done that before.
I just make sure that I meet the person in public. I don't even make out with a guy on a first date. So like, and I'm not saying that I'm smart. Like I've had plenty of terrible things happen to me in my life. That's not why I don't Google guys. I don't put myself for at least like a while of knowing them. And at that point, once you've gone on like 6-7 dates with a person, which is like usually where I'm like, okay, like I like you enough that like I'll go to your apartment or something. That is when that happens usually in my world. And then by then I have a good enough sense of who they are. And I probably have Googled them at that point because we've been dating. We've gone on 6 dates. You know, like before you enter my vagina, like I'm gonna Google you, but like probably, but like if we're just going for a drink, no.
This also speaks to, and if we're assuming that he like we're not sure. So
yeah,
if let's just say he is in tech or whatever. I just read this interesting article on like the wildly like disparate inequality between women and men in the tech world in the dating aspect, because there's all these men with all this money and like they're just circling through all these girls and they're like convincing all the girls that like shit's just casual and they're and it doesn't. And the thing is that like you have to, this is another thing, like you have to get to the point where your self-esteem is strong enough to withstand douchebags, because it's like unfortunately the world is not a kind place all the time, and you're going to come across some bad dudes, and you have to be able to be like, you know what? I respect myself more than dating a millionaire who's going to make me discount myself. So you're worth more than a few coins, you know? And so,
my God. It's so funny that like that. I mean, to me, that's like something has been such a conversation for like 15 years in my mind, is the inequity in tech, which is just like,
also, there's a great Vanity Fair piece.
Oh, no, I don't need to read it because I know. Yeah. But like,
no, but even down to all these like these sex parties that are happening, these like invite only sex parties, and the girls are like even the married tech couples, like they were saying that there's some really high profile people who are so pressured into an open relationship because they have it so good with their like quote, and it's all and this is the horrible thing, Revenge of the Nerds, you guys, it all dates back to that all these fucking nerdy losers finally have money. And so it's like they never got laid, and now they're getting laid in a way that they never dreamed about, and now it's creating this horrific.
Nerds are kinky too.
Nerds are kinky too, but nerds need to.
No, I mean as well. Like,
right.
One thing to remember with nerds is that you add on the fact that they're also probably into some cosplay shit. Like, of course they're having sex parties.
Oh, totally. Yeah,
they're probably just getting, like, in their mind, it's probably like getting together and like trying. It's like a hackathon, but fucking. Like, they just like are like, oh, let's all get together. Like, we're superior beings. Let's get together and fuck.
And it doesn't mean this is everyone in that industry. And this obviously this is like, I don't want to generalize. It's just an article I read. Hopefully, you know, I just hope she just forgets about the coin, moves forward, keeps dating, figuring out what works for her and what doesn't. But this, to me, I've been so dragged through the ringer, and I have gone out with like really, really wealthy dudes who have been like, you know, like older and let me pay for this. And you're just like, okay, but sure, but I don't need you to. And I don't need, like, you can't buy me. I'm not for sale. Like, you can't buy me, like, is my thing with that whole thing. So just don't be for sale.
Okay, I want to sell one more anecdote and then we'll move on. But I do want to say that, so the guy I'm dating right now, like, really, like, best thing that's happened was that we both gave each other one more chance, because both of us at this point have done things where it's like either we've had a fucking flip out and tried to sabotage the whole thing, or like I fully blew him off on our first date. But this is what happened. So I had this guy and I met technically through Instagram, through like a friend of his that's kind of like sent us to each other in sort of a way. So I have a date with him on a Sunday, and this is like right when, like, it was kind of towards the beginning of this like really long flu I've had. And it was like kind of towards the beginning of that, and I was feeling so sick. So I went to that place we go get massages. It's like $60. And I was like, I just need to like see if I can get this cold massaged out of me. And if I can't, then I'm going to cancel the date. So as I'm walking down the street, I get a text from my friend who, like, I told her, I was like, I was calling you Yenta for like a week after this. Cause like, I was like, you spun me out. So I get a text all of a sudden saying, have fun on your date tonight. And I'm incredibly private, like, when it comes to stuff like that. Like, I don't tell people necessarily like, oh, I'm going on a date. I don't tell guys my last name. Like, I don't, if I meet them through an app usually, but then, or like if this guy just happened to know my name because it's on my Instagram profile. It's not like there's no veil there as there is with like Tinder or whatever.
Right,
so, I kind of just like stopped in my tracks, and I was like, how does she know about my date tonight? And I'm like, did I tell her? Like, I don't know. I actually haven't talked to her in like a couple weeks. Like, there's no way she knows this guy. Like, we don't have any like mutual follows or anything. And then I was just like, how do you know about this? And she was like, oh, like, the guy you're going out with works with my friend, and he was showing my friend your Instagram story, and he said like, oh yeah, like I saw her at a party like last month. That's my friend Alexis's friend. Sorry, I'll just say Alexis.
Oh.
And that party, you came to the party at the end of the night.
Oh, that was that part. Yeah.
Yeah, but we can't say any more than that. But like, yeah, after the dinner. But
Can
like,
I blow
that's
my nose, by the way.
Yeah. After that dinner. Yeah. I was like furious because I realized, like, a word that I have often made fun of on the show. I'm fucking discreet, dude. Like, I'm like discreet like a fucking gay guy in the 70s when I'm like about my dating life. Maybe I got a family. Like, I'm very like, don't fucking Google me. If the number one way to fuck up everything for me is to go to our mutual friend on Tinder and be like, oh, I matched with so-and-so. What about her?
Hello. Remember when the person that you texted me about remember that?
Yeah.
And I freaked out about it because I was like, you mean someone I've been sexting with has brought my name up in a conversation to my best friend?
No, actually, it was someone you were sexting, brought it up to his friend.
And his
then
friend
he happened to know who you were.
Exactly. But do you remember how I felt very violated by
of
that?
Course.
Because I was like,
but I didn't know you'd been sexting. That's the other thing. He just said like, oh, they've been going back and forth, like laughing. They've been having fun. And so I didn't understand there was like dick pics in the mix. You also were informing. Everyone informs their situation with what they know, right? So you knew you had been sexting. So when you say, oh, I met this guy and he was saying that you were texting his friend.
I get, yeah. He didn't make it sinister or gross. He was just saying it like, I think
you said something funny.
I think
that's why he brought it up to his friend.
I think I said like I would never date a guy who was like super into anime or something like that. Or like something weird. I don't know.
No, when you met the guy, he was charmed by you. Like, I didn't hear that anime thing you also informed me of after the fact. I didn't know about the anime and I didn't know about the sexting. All I heard is that from this guy who I don't even remember who it is, but I do remember he had a friend who was like, oh my God, I'm talking to this guy who's really funny.
Oh,
and then the guy was like, oh, that's my friend's friend. And then when I saw him, he was like, my friend is talking to your friend. And so I went to you and said, oh, this guy told me you're talking to his friend. And so you all of a sudden go to like, she must have seen a dick pic. Like they know about the anime, like blah, blah, blah. Like it's all just like, it went. So anyway, I wound up like not feeling well after my massage. And I was like fucking also pissed. Like I was pissed for a couple of reasons. One, because I really wanted to go out with this guy. Like I really wanted to like see him. And like I just was like, oh fuck. Like now he's like someone I can't trust. But then I will just say this is that I'm not even like that Googleable or searchable or anything like that. Like I'm searchable, but like I don't think that like you'd look at my social media and be like, wow, she's very successful in her field and is probably a multimillionaire. Like I don't think you would like look at me and think that. And that's how violated I feel. And I get like fucked up on some shit. But like really the only reason why he even showed his coworker was to be like, oh, this girl, I'm going on with this girl. She's really funny. And like, which is sweet.
Right.
And like that is sweet. In his mind, there wasn't even an option that this person would know who I was. And the odds that this person knew who I was is fucking wild to me too. Because I was like, what did I do at that party? That like I was like some random like facial memorized me. You know what I mean? Like what did I do at that party? So probably nothing. Like it's just like,
No, I'm just laughing about.
I'm like really cute.
I remember something you said to me at that party that is making me laugh. So
what did I say?
You more or less. I don't think I could say it. I mean, I won't say who it's about, but you told me just you were like, you should blow that person.
I did?
Yes. And I was like, I'm good. Like, I was like, okay.
Oh my God. We're good. Crazy. We're crazy.
Yeah. And I was like, oh, okay.
Okay. Well.
Woo.
That's really funny.
Yeah.
So just so you know, like I'm fucking nobody, let alone this tech guy or whatever he is, this guy you were dating. He's not going to like that you know anything about his career. He's not going to like that. He would have power moved you with it in the beginning.
Agreed. Move on. Just let it go.
Okay. Anyway, sorry. Move on. We'll move on. Let's go.
Hey, Wags, Miles, Christina, and guest. I am a 27-year-old adult hoping for some advice on my upcoming high school reunion. I just got the Facebook invite today. It's in June, so I have some time to think about it, but I kind of wanted an outside perspective, from somebody as intelligent as you and Christina and possibly your guest, and definitely some feedback from Wags. So I really don't speak to anybody from high school anymore, and I feel like I've kind of just grown and done my own thing in my career, and I feel like, moderately successful for somebody who's 27. I'm a little nervous to go, but also intrigued. Since high school, like I've come out as a gay man, and I, have my own friends. I'm a little bit worried that it'll all be like a kind of compare sizes on like who's married, who's doing this, who's doing that. I am single, so I'm not really seeing anybody, and I don't have plans to see anyone until like, late 30s, because I feel like that's when you have your shit together. That's all I have for you. So did you go to your 10-year? Let me know. Thank you. Love the pod. Please advise.
Okay, so that's like everything that you just said is exactly what everyone worries about before a high school reunion. But can I say to you, can I start by saying I went to your 15, right? Was it 15?
It was my 15th.
Yeah. So I went to Ed's 15th with him, and Ed went to an all-boys school, and like, I don't know, like, I
went to an all-boys Catholic high school where I was deeply closeted, very much on the football team, and very much like, was like, sayonara, not talking to any of y'all ever again. And so everything you have just articulated is everything. I'm not married. I'm very single. I not only was in a career, I completely changed careers at like 32 or 30. Yeah. So everything that you're saying was everything I was experiencing / a lot of us experience. And so I was like, Molly, you need to come with me to my high school reunion. And we didn't go to we went to a drinks.
Wait, can I just tell a story first before we get into like the whole thing? So anyway, we were there and we had been drinking beforehand as well.
Yeah.
Because like, by the way, I also went to my mom's like 20-year reunion. Everyone gets fucking blackout. Like absolutely blackout. Like I was at my mom's 15th reunion, which is so weird. But I was in high school and some guy was so drunk, he fell asleep on our couch, and I realized in the morning he was wearing a lady's headband. So anyway, when I went to the reunion with you, I was like, first of all, I was like at peak grandma time. Like I was like, I have to go home at like 9. I can't. I'm like so tired at like 10. 10 is like my cutoff. But like I also hadn't like hooked up with anyone in a really long time. This was like last winter. Like, and it had been like, I don't know, probably like it had been like a minute since I had hooked up with anyone. And I saw this one guy that was like, he's kind of like the Robert Kardashian of your class, like in that, but like his face is like he's like cuter. Like, do you know what I mean?
Oh, he's way cute. Yeah,
and he has like a vibe to him.
He's like Italian.
Yeah. So I don't know what I did, but with my eyes, but like at one point we were at the bar and I just said like, hey, and I looked at him like, let's fuck. Like definitely that's what my eyes were saying. But he was like, whoa, okay. And I was like, what did I just do? Like, am I more powerful than I thought? Like, I didn't even know I could do that. But then I wound up just going home. I left like an hour later. But you told me after the fact, you were like, Molly, that guy is like so gross. Like all he talked about was like how much pussy he gets and like how much coke he does. And I was just like, yeah, it makes sense.
Well, he was very much like, yeah, he was talking about that. And I'm like, that's like, I don't think he's a bad guy at all. I think he's a nice guy, but also he's not marriage material for your best friend.
Well,
like,
also, I wasn't trying to marry him. But like, also, yeah.
I'm just like, all right, I would say like, sure, go for it. But it's also like, there was a lot of coke talk in the mix. There was a lot of, me and my boys, and this talk in the mix. And so I'm like, sure, if you want to go down that road, go by all means, you're an adult. But at the same time, I was like, I don't know if this is the road you want to go down tonight.
No, I mean, like, to be honest, something must have come over me. I don't know what it was. I think it was being in a room full of Irish Catholic schoolboys.
Yeah.
None of them were particularly attractive, except for I thought that guy like had a thing. He had a thing. But anyway, I'm glad, I'm continuing my streak of not having HPV, which is, just something at this point. It's one of the few badges of honor I have left in this world. But yeah, like I didn't go to my reunion for all of the reasons that you are listing. Plus, like, I just don't like, what would be the point? Like for me to go to my high school reunion, it would like 99% me being like showing up to like stunt. To basically be like, so what do you do with your life? Yeah, okay. Like, well, I live in LA. Like, I live in Glendale. Okay, so like,
like I'm royalty.
Okay, I'm the queen of Glendale. So what have you been doing the last 15 years? But, yeah, it would be like to stunt. That's exactly what I do. I would be like, I've seen y'all on Facebook. Y'all look like shit. Like, I still look young, vibrant. I have better style than you. Always been the case. Now we're all here. Now we're here to recognize it.
You're like cute next to gorgeous. Gorgeous is gonna go ahead and devour cute.
Yeah, exactly. Molly got to devastate McAleer. Like that is who I have become.
She's like, I've officially scored too far in the looks competition for her to catch up at this. For those girls to catch up, and that's it. I'm gonna wave Flav's heart. You were gonna win Flav's heart at the reunion.
Yeah, I am going to win with Flav's heart. By the way, I just have been watching Celebrity Rehab for the first time. Like, I've never really seen it. I saw the season 1. I watched that for Defamer. Right. I think that's when it started.
Is this the one with Bonaducci's on?
Yeah, I think Danny Bonaducci's on it at some point.
Okay. On which one?
Celebrity Rehab.
Oh, yeah.
So season 1's really sad because it's just like literally like it's Jeff Conway, like Kaneki from Grease, who's just like
that was so sad.
I saw that season.
That was dark.
Vicky, his girlfriend Vicky, Jeff and Vicky.
His detox was so bad he had to be hospitalized. Like, it was really bad.
Which, by the way, like is not like particularly uncommon. Like a lot of those people there, like I was like, how bad is their using? Because they seem like Shifty from Crazy Town.
Right.
Shifty from Crazy Town also had a really bad come down.
Yeah.
And then, but like, you know, like a lot of people there, like Jamie from Family Matters was there and she was only there for weed. Like literally there for weed. I think she played
That's right.
Judy. Judy.
Was
Her
that
name
that
real
was
life
in
is
the
Jamie.
like early 2000s, right? Was that Celebrity Rehab?
Yeah, I think it was like maybe. I mean, it depends
Had
what you
to be,
think is
like,
early. It's
2003?
2009 or
'Cause
something.
I would say,
no,
like-
it happened after college because I watched it for Defamer. I think, but yeah, so they went all the way up to season 5, and I skipped up until 4 because like there was like, you know, there was some tragedy. Like they also like have lost a couple people at that point. But the last season is Michael Lohan, the guy who played Hobie on Baywatch, who has a fear that if he drinks water out of a plastic bottle, he'll become bisexual.
Oh,
It's been linked to cancer and bisexuality. That's what he
Wow.
said that drinking water out of plastic bottles is.
shit.
He brought his own water purifier.
Oh,
Like, I mean, can you imagine? Like, I'm
But you
like,
gotta
so
I
do
never
you
drink
know.
water out of plastic
I
bottles,
know.
so I don't know what
know.
the explanation is for me.
honestly, I don't know. Maybe as a child, you drank too much water out of plastic bottles. I don't know.
It was those quarter waters.
Yeah, it has to be it. But no, I don't know, man. Like he's really dark. Like also that's like a journey I really need to discuss on Emotionally Broken Psychos is like imagine being so homophobic that you won't drink water out of a plastic bottle because you've convinced yourself that that's what makes you gay. Like
Yeah.
it makes you have a touch of the gay. Just a
Yeah.
touch.
Like I'm trying to think what his like because it makes his mouth like shape.
No,
For some-
it's the plastic. The plastic emits into the water, which is like
so
that
like
is
a BPA
true.
kind of thing.
Yeah, it is true that like, you know, it's not ideal to drink. You don't drink water that's been in your car all day because it's hot and like the sun is on it and it's really, really bad for you. Oh, TikTok. But he can eat. I've fed him TikTok.
Oh, he can eat that?
a
Okay.
TikTok, yeah. There's probably like worse things on the floor. I keep dropping one of my sleep medications, but it's so tiny that like I can't find it because I'm blind, you know?
Yeah.
They're like in the bathroom and stuff. But anyway, Michael Lohan's on it. And then Amy Fisher's on it. And it's so good because like
Ooh, that's a good one.
Amy Fisher's like she's fucking sad, man. And like you
Yeah.
should be. And you would be if you did something stupid as a teenager. Think about the Amy Fisher of your high school that fucked up really fucking bad her senior year.
Do you think like Monica Lewinsky, like a Tanya Harding, we're gonna revisit like Amy Fisher's narrative in a different light?
I don't think that Monica and Tanya. I did think about whether or not they're even remotely comparable, and I don't think they're remotely comparable. I think that what Tanya's movie did was like shed a lot of light on her personal home abuse and some of the people around her and the addiction around her in ways that it could have gone. Because I do think that figure skating, I realized, is one of the few sports that you have to have money to come in on the ground level. Being a gymnast is like that. Golf can be like that. Tennis can be like that. Horseback riding is like that. But there's not a lot of professional sports, skiing, like you have to come in on a ground level with money.
Fencing.
Yeah. So like that's fencing for sure. I mean, how many swords do you really need though?
It depends on what you want to like specialize in.
Right.
You want an epi, you want a foil, you want a saber situation. You have to start from the jump.
Why do you know so much about fencing?
Because I did fencing.
Oh, I forgot about that. In high school?
I played the foil. No, it was after college. Like it was.
That's
after.
so dark. Oh my God.
I
Wow.
remember
It was fun.
watching
I
them
loved
practice
it.
in the Plex.
Yeah,
With the
I remember that
fencers.
too.
I'd be like, oh, that wolf. Like when they take off their mask, I'd be like, oh, he.
They would
cute.
like shut down portions of the Plex for fencing.
Oh, they
right?
totally would.
Yeah.
And then they had like the wrestling guys, and I'd be like, hi.
You guys, the Plex was the name of the gym where we're from. But listen, I do think that no, you know, Amy Fisher on Celebrity Rehab was like, you know, I just watched it and I think that also she is stuck in a unique position. She did a terrible thing.
Yeah.
She also was 17 or 16 or 17. And, you know, she had a man that she was in love with in her mind that kind of basically said the only thing standing between us is my bitch ass wife. And so she went and did what she thought she needed to do because she is 16 or 17.
Right.
Now, I don't know if we're going to revisit her because all Monica Lewinsky did was fall in love with the president and give him a blowjob. Like, what Monica Lewinsky did, especially for what the punishment she got, pretty She did basically nothing. Amy Fisher shot someone in the fucking face. But like that, my whole point in saying this is that like, think about the person in your high school who has the most reason to be ashamed of something they did because they were young and stupid, right? They're the one who should be afraid to go to the reunion because like their last like big splash.
Unless you was the Amy Fisher of your damn high school,
you better get your ass there.
I mean,
if you have any interest, don't worry about it. Like it also, the other thing too is everyone calms down a lot. There's still going to be, when I went to my cousin and my best friend from high school got married, I set them up one for one. I did notice that the one girl that like from my high school that I really fucking hated and who made my life hell, who's still really good friends with my cousin and my best friend, which is like a big reason like why I can't look back. Like it's too dark. But she was who she was in high school. And she was very judgmental, and she like only knew how to communicate through like basically shit talk. And like, that very small person that thinks that the most interesting way to start a conversation with you is by shit talking someone else, aka Molly Tarloff. This random girl I went to high school with was the +1 of her friend at her wedding, and like this girl was like, the girl that I went to high school with was just like walking around like openly shit talking people like as like her in for convo. And like she did it with me, like she did it with like a couple other people, and eventually got back to the bride. And like, that's her special day. Like she doesn't need like some +1 that she doesn't even really know, like walking around the wedding shit talking. People who were like that in high school are going to still be like that because those people very rarely like develop past it. I really think. You know what I mean?
It's also about like, well, the one thing I was very pleasantly surprised, the guys that I had like played football with, they were so nice.
Yeah.
And the things that they remembered, because I was like a freak to the core. And like they remember how nice they were, and like,
well, the best part was like that, like more than one of them was like, Eddie was really special. I'm like, he's been special. I was like, he's always been special. Like, I just like got really like defensive for you because I was like, you don't need to tell me that Ed Hansen's a good person. How did you treat him in high school? That's my question.
Well, and it was funny because the guys that like tortured me were like not there, but it was like funny because like I was like tortured. Like if I bought a thrift store jacket for $15 that I thought was great, I mean. And it's also like the all boy culture and the I was like fucking dragged and like and I was like, is that guy gonna be there? And like I was sort of like, I'm going in strong. Like I was like, I'm going with my best friend. I have my backup here. Like we are coming in for the kill. So I was going in like ready for battle. Like I was like, if you think I'm the same boy who didn't know how to I did not know how to stand up for myself. I was relentlessly bullied. I didn't learn how to fight for myself until later on in life. I did not learn. It was not a skill that I learned early on. I knew how to do dumb shit like score touchdowns and everything, but what the fuck does that mean in the grammar scheme?
Yeah.
The funny things are the things that people remember me for are like, for me, like,
you're like, well, that was nothing, but they're like, oh, you like,
yeah, like they're like, oh my god, like that, and I'm like, thank you for remembering that because I fucking forgot it, and it was incredible, and football was great.
You know that I almost got into the acoustics. Like there are a lot of things you don't know.
There's just so many things about me that I'm like, I feel like are so much more memorable than me like scoring a 50-yard run and touchdowns and all this shit. But they remembered that about me, and that was really interesting to see that they had that memory of me. And then now that I'm like out and proud, they were like really wonderfully supportive. The good guys were.
Yeah,
there were like a few weirdos in the mix, so I felt like, okay, like like
the weirdos though were just, can I say, like as a non-gay man,
yeah,
like they were categorical weirdos, right? Like I remember there was at least 2 people there that I'm just like, why would you show up to a social event acting like, y'all ain't shit, like at all? Like, why would you even bother to show up to that? Like, you are making it very obvious why you behave this way, which is that you are like broken and have some deep self-hatred. Right. Like, anyone who shows up to something to be a hater 15 years later is so sad. Like, that is so sad.
Exactly. It's like you want to think that everyone had moved past all of that. and left it in high school. And that's part of the reason to go too. It's like, you're kind of like, hey, here's the new evolved, best, strong, confident version of me. Like, I'll let you have a look.
Right.
And then, that's it. And like, I'm all of my friends are basically from college.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And then since then, it's like all my best friends are basically from college. So like, people, and then very early on in LA. And so with rare
I'm going to
exception,
Chicago in March. I want to see some peeps.
Yeah, I can. Yeah, I'll get Bustos in the mix, and
would love to see her.
Yeah.
Actually, she's married to the guy I'm dating's friend. Like
seriously,
they know each other not super well.
Yeah.
But I saw her like profile the other day. And I was like, oh, who's her husband or whatever, and I
oh yeah,
clicked on it, and I was like, oh, the only friend we have in common is like the Bustos, and then the guy I'm dating.
That's really funny.
And I was like, that's so random.
Yeah,
but then I
get
feel like
Bustos in the
Chicago's
mix.
really fucking small.
It is. It's really small, but it's so great. Like, I had the best time. My post-grad experience in Chicago was everything.
Yeah.
Like, I just loved it.
You love it.
I've always had a soft spot for Chicago.
You love it, babe.
But yeah, like, so just, don't put pressure on yourself to go, but at the same time, like, go because you want to, give the world the gift of your presence. And, don't worry about the haters, like, haters don't do anything with their lives, like, they don't win because they're too busy hating.
I don't think it's any small coincidence that the guys that were like brutal to you weren't there.
Right.
Like, not because they're afraid of like, oh, what if Ed Hansen's there? No, I think they just are like, they've never like, people who just like there's always like people who have hate in their heart like that. It's really like, and I look back on Wags. By the way, Wags says hi. He like crawled up. Hi. People who have hate in their heart like that, I found that a lot of times, like my biggest bullies in high school, looking back, I realized that they had some shit at home.
Yeah.
Like their parents were really bad alcoholics, and like I just didn't even understand.
You just didn't know.
That is universally true. There was just something else that was like they needed to compensate for.
Yeah.
Or
like,
they were closeted themselves and they were fucking
Absolutely.
their being was just fucking reacting to my fucking shit.
Or their
It's like,
parents beat them up, and
Yeah.
so they had to go to school and be like, let me burn off some of this hater energy, and like
Yeah.
I'll just fucking beat the shit out of this gay kid today. Like
Yeah.
that's fine.
Oh, God. Jesus.
Like I'm gonna get hit when
Oh,
I go home,
Jesus.
so I'll just beat up this gay kid, and like that'll make tonight, getting through dinner tonight, a little bit easier. But
Ugh.
I'll just riff on the gray synthetic fur on Ed's coat.
oh my god, you had gray synthetic fur on your coat.
I'll just threaten to beat the shit out of her on the R train. I still can't look at the R train the same way.
No.
Yeah, it's rough.
Now, anytime y'all see me in faux fur, it's to show you
You're
that
taking it back.
I will take back my faux fur and I will wear it proudly. You can't bully me out of fur.
I just
faux
want
fur.
you guys to know that there's a deeper narrative to Ed's faux fur than you ever thought. I didn't even know that.
Oh,
now I'm like really proud of every time I've seen you in fur.
Yeah, because I was bullied for fucking wearing fur, like faux synthetic fur, and that's okay.
You know what though?
That's our journeys.
Yeah.
Because it was fake?
It was an Alaya.
No, it was
just
just
kidding.
because like it existed. Because like Ed showed up at an all boys school wearing a furry jacket,
a jacket with fur moment on, and then of course I was like the F bombs.
which
Joe
like
Namath
barely is like not the queeniest thing now. Like to think about you showing up in high school with like a fur jacket is
Oh my
like
God.
it's a little. Are you like Joanne the scammer? But in high school,
It was just a fur detail around the collar. Like
No,
it
I
wasn't.
know.
Joe Namath used to wear fur on the field. He used to wear a fur
Dude,
coat on the
I'm
field.
telling you, I couldn't win.
I'm saying it's chic, but
Couldn't
I'm saying
win.
at that time, like it was not dissimilar to you power moving all of Boston College by walking through the quad in the middle of winter in yellow Dolce & Gabbana shorts.
I
Like,
would wear a yellow
you
Dolce
power
Gabbana
moved
mesh
it.
tank top that had cut so low that my father was embarrassed to pick me up from the airport. Like that was literally how now I understand too why he'd be like, "Can you not wear that?" Because like people would probably looking at him with like You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah.
with like a boy who's dressed like a fucking whore and thinking like, oh, no. Like,
and like you and your dad, like I could see you as kind of not looking related. Like, we
don't look anything alike.
Time when you were so tan and
like I look much more Latino than my father.
Yeah.
My father's not Latino.
And that he's not. Yeah.
And so that he's completely Irish and Danish. And then so we don't look anything alike.
Yeah.
So now
we come in all shades.
True, we do. It's true, we do. But
when you see Tim, you're like, oh, Irish man.
Yeah, like you don't really look at Tim and think my father, but then when you the more you see it, but it's like, so I understand now. There's a lot of things now in retrospect I get that I didn't get at the time.
Yeah.
So I'd be like, I want to wear this. This is what satisfies my soul. Like, I'm expressing myself through fashion. And he'd be like, can you not wear this to the airport? Like,
have I told you that, like, I haven't told you this. I don't even think I remembered to say it out loud, but there was been like a couple situations recently where we were talking to someone that didn't realize you were mixed.
Really?
Yeah. And like, it was like awkward.
Which way?
And then like, I think it was one way each time.
Oh, okay.
Like I think someone just assumed that you were like purely like your parents were both immigrants. Like I think it was like sort of like that, and you kind of like, we're actually like, you know, and then you were like, my last name's Hansen, you know, or like, you know, I think it was like I think it went either way, but I was like, you should tell Ed that you were offended by that for him. So I just want to let you know that. I remember, like, I forgot to say at the time, like, that was really fucking weird. And I can't even remember what it was now, but like, it's happened 2 times recently when I don't think it's ever really, I've never really seen that happen before. Where someone's like questioning your race.
Yeah. The last time it happened was like a homeless lady chased me down the street telling me to go back to Mexico. And I was like, my mom's from Panama.
You're trying to reason with her?
I was like trying to reason with her, but the meth didn't allow that. But literally she was like chasing me and she's trying to punch me. And she's like, go back to where you came from. And I'm like, I'm from LA. And so, and I'm like, in my head, like, and she's like, literally, she's like chasing me. And I'm like, I thought she was going to hit me. And she was way bigger than me, too. She was like, cause I'm not, as we all know, I'm like shorty. I'm like barely 5'7". And she was like 6'2", like 280. She was like a big ass Aileen Wuornos, you know, and she was like screaming at me to like go back to where I came from and to go back to Mexico. And I didn't have time to break down the cultural nuances and specifics of where my family's from. And like, you know, because I was being.
She didn't seem open to it.
She didn't seem, she's screaming and lunging at me. Yeah. So, and I was dancing in a circle, like trying to avoid her. In my head, I'm like, do I kick her?
Is it downtown? Where were you?
I was in West LA.
Oh, like
by the VA, by the Wags' vet. Oh. You know, there's a lot of homeless around there, and unfortunately, there's a lot.
I remember that.
There's a lot of mental illness, you know, and you know, it's a big problem, and it's like, you know, like
at least she's not so mentally ill she doesn't know to stay on that side of town, you know, like because it's a nicer part of town to stay in if you're homeless. I think.
Yeah, there's a lot of homeless people around there. I will say it's interesting.
Oh
that area right by that.
Well, Santa Monica, too, is like just people always forget. I mean, people assume that LA's like homeless problem is detained to like downtown.
Oh, yeah, no.
All around. But that was like a thing in LA, though, at one point that they would just like pick up homeless people in Santa Monica and like basically drop them off downtown again. Right?
Yeah, that was.
Yeah. Dark. Okay. Well, have fun at your high school reunion. I don't know if we helped or not helped, but just go and like just be yourself and have fun. And if you don't like it, leave. But maybe one thing you could do is make sure that you have at least one person going that you know and you like.
Go with your bestie.
Yeah. Or like, you know, if not your friend, your bestie from now, find someone from high school that you're like, at least I can talk to, like regular high school. Like just like it was in regular high school, you'd be like, hey, are you going to be at that thing tonight? Okay, now I'll come because I didn't think I was going to know anyone. Like I didn't want to get stuck getting picked on by so-and-so.
Right.
So, yeah, maybe think about that. All right. Do we have time for one more call?
We have one update, and it was from the listener who was bisexual, who called in episode 150, who was had never had a serious relationship. Do you remember that one?
She got a serious relationship in 2 episodes?
No. We asked her some questions, and she sent up the following things, and she was also like super psyched to hear from us that we answered her question. So like here's a little update.
Malls, Christina, and last week's guest, thank you so much for answering my question. I love the answer, even if I got dragged a little bit. And I'd like to answer some of the questions that you guys brought up throughout your answer. The first one is, how do I know that I'm bi? And the answer is, I've actually had several flings, hookups, on and off things. I've just never been really serious with someone. The second one is, do I live in Brazil? And yes, I do. And I think that kind of makes it a little bit more aggravating for me because the culture here is very family and couple oriented, and sharing a lot about your personal life here is so normal, so just part of the culture. It's very hard to just not share about your personal life when everyone else around you is. And the third thing is what's interesting about me. And it feels so silly to say these things like holistical, but well, here goes. One, I guess I'm a generous person. I really try to help, and that's something I like about myself. Two, I've always strived for independence, despite the fact that I live in a cultural context in which most people live with their parents, well into their 20s and 30s sometimes, and I've always strived for independence, for living on my own, doing my own thing, and helping my family out financially, and I'm proud of that. And three, I just recently adopted the most adorable mutt ever, and she's just like an angel. And I sent you on the email where I'm sending this audio message, I sent you my Instagram profile just for you guys to see her and how beautiful and angelical she is. And I know that doesn't make me a good person or anything, but I'm just proud of this dog. I hope that's not too weird. As a dog person, I think you will understand that. So thank you so much for your answer. And I really love the podcast. Love you both. Bye-bye.
Okay, so this was very exciting because Christina pulled up your Instagram for me to look at it, and it's a post about your dog. And I got to hit the C translation button, and it did a whole fucking paragraph. Like, usually I get one word when I hit that, but it really translated your entire Spanish paragraph into English, and I'm just amazed. I'm not going to lie to you.
Portuguese.
Portuguese?
Well, unless she wrote it in Spanish, but...
no, it's Portuguese if she's Brazilian.
Portuguese, yeah. No, I'm sorry. I'm just stupid.
No, you're not.
Also, like, Spanish and Portuguese look the same,
They
right?
do. They
At
look
first,
very similar.
Yeah. Okay, what I was going to tell you about my cleaning lady, Martha, which is apropos of only the fact that I thought this was Spanish, was that she thought you were refusing to speak Spanish to her. And I was like, she doesn't really speak Spanish. I was like, she speaks a little bit, but I'm like,
but also, like, I don't assume, like, most people here don't know that I'm Latino.
Yeah,
when they talk to me, like,
really,
yeah. Most of the time, other Latinos here have assumed that I'm biracial, which also isn't wrong. It's true. But like most Latinos, so like I don't operate that they understand that I'm Latino, and also like I don't really feel comfortable conversing in Spanish because I've had my Spanish judged for being as weak as it is.
Sure.
I don't feel super comfortable. And she was super competent in her English. So why should, like,
no, I think that because in her
she never
world,
even tried. So.
No, in her world, I think that, well, first of all, like, even Ed, like, I've been surprised that sometimes when someone, like, comes in over the years, like, about different workers and different things, and you come in and you just speak straight, you just start, like, conversing right away in Spanish, which just cut out, a lot of, like, if you know that you both speak fluently, basically the same language. But I thought it was so, like, interesting that her takeaway was that, like, I think because that does happen. If you speak Spanish, she's probably used to people walking up to her and speaking in Spanish if they speak Spanish.
Well, I just do it.
I also just don't assume everyone who looks Latino speaks Spanish.
I know.
My own.
I try to gauge it off of like a word. You know what I mean? Kind of like, do they start in Spanish with
I
me?
do too. She didn't come in like that too. She said hello. She was. I didn't get like an hola, como está. There's like little phrases that kind of tip the hat. I got none of that. So I was like, okay, let's go English only.
I mean, I really like. I thought it just reminds me that I don't know what goes on in Martha's world, because like that being her like take. I was like, is it like, I kind of had the same thing. I was like, is it possible she just doesn't speak Spanish? But like, it was like so interesting because her thing was like, she wouldn't speak in Spanish to me. And I was like, oh, she doesn't speak it. That's why. Like, I was like, I feel that that's very odd that we've been probably harboring that my friend didn't speak to you in Spanish all week.
I don't feel comfortable speaking it to other people who aren't my family because they're a lot more forgiving. And also, like, Puerto Rican dialect is completely different. So I don't know how familiar she is with that. Like, it's not completely different, but it sounds different.
Yeah.
Like, my mom actually recently complimented me on, like, she was like surprised at how native it sounded.
Yeah.
But it was like a small couple of phrases that I was talking to my grandmother. Like, I was like, it seemed like I knew, but I was like, I have a lot of work to do in that department.
Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah.
I think I'm like,
just like, she's a Puerto Rican girl from New York. Like,
Yeah,
she doesn't necessarily speak that.
Had I not gone to school in Boston, I don't think I would have been so quick to like clock Puerto Ricans. Because I clocked you as Puerto Rican right away.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
I knew right away. I was like, oh.
There are like, I'm always surprised when someone gets it right away because I'm like, how do you know? And it's always like, I dated a guy.
Oh,
you look like his sister, or like I went like it was someone who's just like has been around a Puerto Rican and knows that what we look like.
You can look at a Puerto Rican. It's like you can look at a Dominican. I know I can look at a Dominican. I'm like, you're Dominican. I can look at a Puerto Rican. You're Puerto Rican. I can look at a Cuban. You're Cuban, Argentinian. I have a really good eye for that kind of stuff. And just like the same with like in Asian people. I can do that with Asian people. I don't have as much Korean, of a Chinese, Japanese. Like if you look at every different Asian country and Latin American countries, you can really, if you, even in certain, like a Swede compared to like a Dane, you can see the difference.
I honestly think it's shocking when people like look at a Japanese person and they're like, oh, they're Chinese. I'm like, no, I'm like, actually, I'm like, it's a very different thing. And like,
facial
and that's not to say that like you can't be Japanese and have some more like from another country's features. Like there's always outliers in any situation.
And there's always people who like, oh, there's some Japanese people who made it to like China or like vice versa.
And then like you think about Hawaiians are very mixed, and they're mixed with a lot of them are mixed with Japanese.
Like so Puerto Ricans. Like Puerto Ricans are a mix of a bunch of things. Yeah. I literally just took an ancestry DNA test to like find out what the mix is, even though like the science behind that is questionable.
Yeah.
Just so I can like know what the fuck to fill out on the census, because Latinos not.
And there's a lot of there's a lot of black Panamanians too. You know that, right? There's a lot of black Panamanians. People don't know that. So That's
actually the only Panamanians I knew have been like mostly black.
Okay, that's it. Yeah, my mom was telling me that too. That a lot of people think that. Well, I don't know if it's like maybe in Latin America. I don't know. It's like it's a thing because Panamanians are very diverse. So you don't know like. So yeah, you could think that there's mostly black Panamanians or.
Anyway, I'm so sorry that this has all come from me.
No, but I mean, like, but also
the
like
hit
my
translation thing on Instagram, which is very cool.
That's so
my
cool.
thing is also like she never said anything to me in Spanish to make me think that she spoke Spanish.
Honey, that's why I'm saying that I really don't know what goes on in Martha's world because of like a thing that's logical to you and I. Sometimes I'm like, you only live like a half an hour away, right? Like, why
She's obsessed with Martha. She like, she loves her.
Yeah.
Well, no, I mean, it goes to a larger thing in Latinos, especially if they're first gen or from their country. It's like, it's assumed that you should speak that first. But like, I am very removed from that in a way that a lot of other Latinos aren't used to seeing. Like, there's only so many people who have been here for like 3 generations. You know what I mean?
Well, that's
or,
the
like,
other thing too.
5
is that
generations
Martha has been here since she was 5.
Yeah.
But like where her English is, you would never assume that because she speaks pretty great. I mean, she speaks decent English. Like it's pretty good. Like I wouldn't say she has a.
So weird.
She
I
doesn't
didn't refuse.
Christina. Again, I think that I'm pointing out that she obviously lives in such a saturated community of people only speaking in Spanish because she doesn't sound like she's lived here since she was 5. Like you would think.
Or if you look at my mom who moved here when she was like 17, her English is perfect, but because in Panama
she has a very heavy accent.
She has a heavy accent, but in Panama they make you take English. It's like a thing. It's like
I know Puerto Ricans who have lived in the U.S. for the bulk of their lives that speak only Spanish because they live in neighborhoods where they don't need to. You can like kind of just operate
in Spanish only,
and it's fine. But I just think it's funny, like.
I mean, it was just like I don't know.
How come your friends don't speak Spanish?
It was just like okay, Martha. Like it was just like one of those kind of, you know what I mean, where it's like she's literally the sweetest, best person, but you're just like, I don't know, ma'am. Like I don't know, like.
And I was like, I kind of went out of my way to be nice to her because like
she liked you.
Honey,
she wasn't critiquing your like.
She
wasn't critiquing you.
Like there's subtleties there.
But she saw you were being nice to her.
I'm picking up on that, like you don't have a relationship.
Oh, and by the way, I'm sure there is. I'm just saying that what I will say is that I said my friend, I said she was here last week. She goes, oh, she's so nice, and then she said, but she wouldn't speak in Spanish to me. That was what it was. So she did say you were nice and that you were great. She said that to me. Like, so I want to be clear that she wasn't like, what's wrong with your friend? She was like, it was the connotation when she spoke to me. And by the way, I know that like there is like, I mean, I call them like dog whistles in our society. When guys tried to tell me the way the girls acted were just normal, I'll be like, you don't even fucking know.
Right,
like, you don't know.
Yeah.
You can't hear our dog whistle, dude. Like, I know that that was a nasty ass thing that person just said. But that's like, Christina, like, to your point, I don't want to like, I want to acknowledge your point is that like, you're right. I'm sure there's definitely, I believe you when you say that, because I also know that we all experience that in different areas of our life. I know people experience it in different sexualities, like in different everything. Like so I totally understand that there's an additional sting, because I've heard you talk about it before, where you've been like, I think like your cousins
treated you, treated me different, and then I'm like, oh, I didn't know, and you were like explaining to me, and I'd be like, I'm sorry, I didn't know, like, you know.
And I'm also fully aware that I have an oversensitivity of it, just because I've had to deal with it my entire life. Like
people assuming you speak Spanish.
I mean, I know that, which is why I was like,
it for you.
I was like, do I tell her this? And I was like, it's just so ridiculous. And it's so like, oh, she must live in a world. I mean, because I have wondered to myself, why is her accent so thick if she has been here since she was 5 years old? And I realized, oh, like she speaks in Spanish to her husband. Like everyone in her life seems to be like someone who is a Spanish speaking person. And so when that is who you're surrounded with, of course, your accent is going to be a little bit
She probably just
broken.
She doesn't know. You know, she doesn't know any better.
No. I mean, if that's her whole experience, she doesn't understand that my experience in my life, my parents primarily spoke English to me.
Right.
Most of the circles I run around, people primarily speak English. It's not something that I come into a lot unless I'm ordering food.
I mean, you also live in New York. You're from New York, and I don't think Martha lives in a cultural hotbed, nor has she ever. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and most of the people who I grew up with in New York around me were like me, who were like second gen or third gen Americans who like people, they didn't grow up talking like this. And the frustrating thing is that, I'm not the only one of my cousins who deals with this, who has, who lacks this, but because I am the one who looks the most Latino, I'm the one who receives the most brunt of this.
Right.
And, like I should know what they call this is my heritage language, or I like to say the language of which language of which colonizer do you want me to choose from? Because it's the truth. Like not all of us are speaking the indigenous language of the, tribe that landed in Puerto Rico. But it's just a frustrating part of my life that I have to still deal with every day. And people making assumptions about me regardless if I move.
Sorry,
regardless
Martha did that to you, and I'm sorry I repeated it to make you feel bad.
No, it's fine. I mean, I
will scold Martha next week as if I could like. Martha's like my mom. Like I don't even think I could like.
Yeah, it's hard.
I don't even think like one time I texted her and I was like, "Hey Martha, have you seen like I think it was like a remote or something," and she was like, "I would never take your remote," and I was like, Martha, like I like want to cry. If you honestly think that I was accusing you of stealing, like I would never. Yeah. And also, if you stole from me, I would probably be okay with it. Like you're
like, I just wonder where you put it. Yeah.
Like, but that like, I'm sure that she does have people that assume she steals, which by the way is so arrogant. One of my exes would always be like, "Oh, I don't want a cleaning person over." You know which one? The neurotic one. Be like, "I don't want a cleaning person in my house."
I know. I was about to say the same
which one? I know. You got a handful of those.
The most.
Oh, the most. Doing the most? Yeah.
Doing the most.
Doing the most.
But also doing the least.
Doing the apps. My simultaneously
doing the most at doing the least.
Yeah, doing the most at doing the least for sure.
That's exactly right. But he wouldn't let a cleaning person in his house because he'd be like, oh, someone's gonna take my stuff. And I was like, okay, it's very unlikely that someone would like risk their citizenship or their job at the company or whatever else to take your. Like, what do you think they're going to take? Your international DVD player? Like, what do you think they're going to take? Do you think it's going to be your TV, your stereo? Like, what would go missing from your place? Like, everything you own is shit. So there's that. Secondly, like, what do you think? That this person, it's like literally just to get straight white guys who are stupid to open their front door.
I think
and
your
like
video games are safe.
Like, you're fine, loser.
This is the grand Latino plan.
Yeah,
how
exactly.
We're going to infiltrate your houses. We're going to infiltrate your businesses by working as
by stealing their rare vinyl. Like whatever it is, like that might be the most valuable thing he had was like rare vinyl.
I think. Yeah. I think based on what I saw, yeah. Yeah. Certainly not the furniture.
Oh my God. I know, right? I know, right? Like I remember one time like I had like flip flops on or something. I like crossed my leg and like I was sitting on my leg, you know? And he was like, "Can you take your shoes off? Like my couch is really nice." And I was like, "I'm sorry, which one? Like it's certainly not the one I'm sitting on. Like I would never put it on the nice one. Where is the nice one, by the way?
Can you show that to me?
Yeah. Okay, but let's move forward. Ed, I love you so much. Thank you for being here. You guys, you can find Ed on Twitter at the real Ed Hansen.
Yeah.
You can find him also at
I'll unlock it. I locked it because my
sister, you did?
Yeah. I locked my Instagram because my sister told me that they're taking baby photos and doing weird things with them, and so that I couldn't post my niece and nephew if I had it an open one. So I locked it, and I locked my Twitter because I was like, might as well. And then I'll just.
Do you mean like photoshopping for like
porn or something? Yeah. She's like, you're not allowed to post your niece and nephew if you have an open Instagram. So I was like, ooh, okay. So I locked it. But I can unlock my Twitter.
The internet is sad.
It's sad. It's sad. It's like it's now that's the world.
That's literally fucking terrifying. And even though I know things like that happen, to like think that your sister has to think about that, or that, I mean, I'd probably have a kid and it would never occur to me that that was a possibility.
No, she like made me do it. She's like, if you really want to post.
No, she's smart. She's smart.
Like, you just have to lock it. And I was like, okay.
I'm just a trusting idiot. Like I'd be like, oh, like what, you know. What would be wrong with posting my kids online? Like,
yeah, it's like here's the geotag out. Now I have to, so I'll unlock my Twitter.
Okay. Well, if you want, and that's Edward Hansen, right?
It's that one. Oh, the real Ed Hansen on Twitter.
Hansen's on Twitter,
and then Edward Hansen on Instagram, and then I curate now.
You what?
Like I like look at who's like I look at the requests. I curate.
Oh, you curate.
Sorry,
okay.
I said that wrong.
Curate. What word were you saying? Oh, I love it.
What did I say wrong the other day?
Oh, wait. We have to talk about like the best one you ever did. Where you were like, I've really been secreting, like getting a great job, and like I've really been.
Wait, what is it? Am I saying it wrong? Secreting.
Like you're using a secret.
My best one was Inteligencia to Karen Kilgariff.
Oh.
That's my Karen's. That's the funny. Karen and I always laugh about that because my old Karen.
Like the coffee place? Is that what you're talking?
Yeah. So Karen.
I can't.
Also not wrong though. Maybe.
Thank you. Okay.
Thank you.
No, but
yeah,
I think I am. I think I am. I think
so
it is
sick of
wrong.
This, like,
well, no, intelligentsia like is not. That's like definitely, I would say like every time I first heard it when I moved here is I was like, oh, they're like, it's like Target. Like, it's like taking a word and like doing the opposite to it.
I think I accidentally ethnicized that. Like, I think it's literally intelligentsia. Then I said,
but isn't that also the word?
Intelligentsia? And she laughed so hard. I was like, wait, it's not intelligentsia?
Intelligentsia next to Los Feliz?
Yeah, Los Feliz. And so she and I always, she's like, you mean intelligentsia? And I'm like, it's our go-to joke. Cause like,
I want to die for you. Like, that like literally, but my heart is too faint to ever be wrong. Like that's like my mom, like I corrected her on like her pronunciation of something recently and it like derailed the evening. Like it was like ever since that happened, like it didn't matter that, you know, the last 33 years of my life were now erased. Like I corrected her at dinner. Right. So hell will rain upon me. Like, do you understand? So I'm also, that's why I would say I'm also like super sensitive. Like my biggest fear is someone being like, actually my name is like blah blah blah. I'm like, that's my biggest fear.
Yeah, no.
Like you have been letting that guy call you Andy at the.
Oh, I can't. I'm too embarrassed to correct him. I can't correct him now. He calls me Andy, and I will not correct him because he's like, it's too embarrassing for both of us.
My mom called someone by the wrong name for 30 years, and and by the way, like a person that we were like kind of close to, and like she did it for like 30 years, and like. I remember like when they finally corrected her, she felt like she was so humiliated. And I also am like, just never correct her or don't let it go on for 30 years. But like, you can't let her like write Christmas cards to like the wrong name. Like,
yeah, I'm fine being Andy for him. Like, that's fine.
Yeah,
like,
he never needs to know your name.
He doesn't need to know. Like, he doesn't need to know my real name. But it's
like, can you imagine that if you were in there though? And like, he was like, that's the guy that calls you Andy, but I walked in and I was like, oh, hey, Ed.
Yeah.
Like, can you imagine?
Well, I always see Morgan there. I literally see Morgan there a lot.
Does she ever call you by your name?
She does, but I don't know if he clocks it or if he's just like, so he's just like, Andy. And I'm like, uh-huh. And then I take my mocha or whatever. And then I'm like, bye. And then that's it. So we're just on an Andy name basis.
What if you've just been taking some guy's named Andy's coffee for the last 2 years.
No, because he'll like be like, "Hey, Andy, you want this with the?" And it's almost like aggressive. Yeah, he does it aggressively too. It's an aggressive Andy.
It's real. Like, see, and so I feel like if he were to find out, he would be so humiliated.
Yeah, or he just would be like, "Oh, okay."
I mean, must be nice to have such a high threshold for non-embarrassment.
Yeah,
because I'm embarrassed every day.
I'm embarrassed so often. You don't even want to know. When this is off, I'll tell you the most humiliating thing that happened in a intimate situation recently that you're going to like die over.
Well, I'll secrete hearing that story.
I know. It's very intelligentsia too. Yeah.
All right. I love you guys. I'll talk to you soon. Christina, thank you so much.
Thank you, Molly.
Ed, thank you.
Thank you, ladies and birds of Please Advise.
And you guys, we're back. I don't know if you listened to our mini episode, but you did what we asked. You did the 500 reviews on iTunes. So we will be announcing our surprise for you soon. All right. Talk to you later. Bye.